So now we're in module 3C, and this is about the ability to handle all those internal processes. In module 2, we worked on the physicals. Module 3, we're dealing with emotions. I'm going to share my screen and proceed. But I had used the analogy before of the Golden Gate, of there is a park over here where you can park your car and just look or go and walk on the bridge and acclimate. And so now I'd be asking the person, they just reflected on all those words they chose and the number and the significance of all that. We validated the intensity of it all. So now we're going to recheck this. These were the questions at the very start of the program where we said, what are your fears about addressing all this? And now we're going to say, now that you've dipped into those emotions, is it true that you weren't able to handle it? And they might say, yeah, I couldn't handle it. Like, but you did. You did. So I don't think you should rate it higher than 25% or somewhat. Did this happen? I started crying and wasn't able to stop. Well, I did tear up. I did get tearful, but I was able to stop. Did you become too emotional to now fulfill your responsibilities? Yeah, I might need to take tomorrow off, or I think I'm going to go to bed early tonight, but I am going to be able to function. So this is not what I expected. I was still able to breathe. I have not had a heart attack. I didn't lose control. I've not done anything violent. I'm not insane. Yeah, it was kind of embarrassing to sit here and do this with you and you see me cry, but it's not that big a deal. And I didn't die. And so this is a big difference. The actual harmful consequences are a 5, and their feared harmful consequence was a 21. So again, discuss how no wonder you've avoided all this for so long, because there were these beliefs that you weren't going to be able to handle it, that it was all just too much. And luckily, we're proving that those beliefs were false. Now, sometimes I'll have a person get very upset that they didn't learn to do this years ago. They'll be like, all these years of not being able to take my kids to Disneyland or a water park or go to concerts, or like, it starts to become traumatic in itself and something to grieve the lost years or the years. But again, with self-compassion, like, but of course you couldn't do it all. You didn't know this. It's barely known in the mental health field. It's still new territory. And it's a tragedy. So it needs to be mourned, put it on the list of other things that need to be processed. Okay, and again, this is just reminding us that these are different scores than the increased heart rate, the things that we're learning to deal with through the deep breathing, through some of those exercises. Okay, so we are going to want this to come down through the deep breathing. We'll get more into that. Okay, so then this is an invitation to discuss the difference in what had been feared versus how it's actually going when you're confronting these things. And then here, just reflect on overall this module 3 of what's it been like to start naming those emotions, picking them apart. A lot of times people say, well, I don't want to dwell on these things. And I think the difference is that I still see it like changing a flat on a car. You're not just going to get out and cry next to your car that you have a flat, but you can for a little while. It's okay to sit there and cry and just be upset, but then start changing it. Open the trunk, find the jack, start doing the steps, or call for help. So you're not dwelling, but you're not avoiding. You are kind of dwelling on it, but you're not dwelling in it. I think that's what I'm trying to do, is move people out of dwelling in it, like living in it, to just observe it enough to do something about it. That's what we're going for. Okay, now we're going to proceed to module 4.